$39 trillion. That's how much the United States owes right now as you watch this video. And for the first time in 80 years, the world is asking a question no one wanted to ask. What happens when the dollar falls? Most people think the dollar is permanent. That is just how the world works. You buy oil in dollars, you store wealth in dollars, countries go to war over dollar access. But here's what they don't teach you in school. Every reserve currency in history thought the same thing, and every single one of them was wrong. Let me show you something. In 1990, if you asked any economist which currency would rule the 20th century, almost none of them would have said the dollar. They would have said the pound. The British pound sterling was the dollar of its time. For over 200 years, it financed empires, funded wars, and connected every major trade route on Earth. At its peak, the British Empire controlled 25% of the world's land mass, and every transaction happened in pounds. But then came two world wars. Britain borrowed to survive the first, borrowed even more to survive the second. By 1935, the United Kingdom owed the United States more money than it had ever owed anyone in its history. And in 1956 it was over. During the Suez Crisis, Britain tried to assert its old imperial power, sending troops to Egypt to seize the Suez Canal. President Eisenhower said no, and when Washington threatened to dump British pound reserves, Britain had no choice but to retreat. The empire didn't end with a war. It ended with a phone call, and the pound never recovered its reserve status. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because Ray Dalio, one of the most successful investors in history, says he's watching the same pattern unfold right now, in 2026, with the dollar. After World War II, the United States made a deal with the world. It was called Bretton Woods. The dollar would be backed by gold, every other currency would be pegged to the dollar. America would be the anchor of the entire global financial system, and for 25 years it worked. Then in 1971, Nixon broke the deal. He took the dollar off gold entirely. From that moment on, the dollar was backed by something much more fragile than gold. It was backed by trust. Trust that America would manage its finances responsibly. Trust that the debt would never get too large. Trust that the Federal Reserve knew what it was doing. For decades that trust held. But today, the United States owes $39 trillion. Interest payments alone are now larger than the entire defense budget. 1/3 of all dollars ever created in American history were printed after 2020. And here's the question that keeps historians up at night. At what point does trust run out? History gives us a very clear answer. Reserve currencies don't collapse overnight, they erode slowly, quietly, and then all at once. The British pound lost its reserve status over 30 years. The Dutch guilder took 40. Each time the pattern was identical. A great power, a period of extraordinary dominance, then death, then overreach, then one moment where the world realized the emperor had no claws. Today, BRICS nations are settling trade in yuan and rupees. Japan is quietly selling US treasuries. Saudi Arabia is accepting payments for oil in currencies other than dollars for the first time in 50 years. These aren't dramatic headlines. They're the early tremors before the earthquake, and the earthquake has never failed to come. I want to be clear about something. This video is not a prediction that the dollar will collapse tomorrow. It's a reminder that no reserve currency has ever lasted forever. Not the pound, not the guilder, not the Spanish peso, and the United States is not immune to the same forces that brought every great financial empire to its knees. 39 trillion in debt, interest payments that now exceed military spending. A world quietly, very quietly, looking for alternatives. The pattern is there, it's always been there. Subscribe to Empire Collapse, because the most important financial story of your lifetime is already happening.